much of different foods and drinks would it take for you to consume before it kills you? Well, it would only take about 14 glasses of water before your kidneys were just like, nobody's ever done it before, but about 480 bananas would have enough potassium to just stop your heart. If you eat cherries, you know that sometimes you accidentally eat the pit, but it would only take 3 pits for you to die from cyanide poisoning. It would only take 24 tablespoons of salt from Mother Nature to be like, yeah, this person has had way too much sodium. If you were somehow able to take 14 shots of whiskey within an hour and not puke, don't. Humans have stripes. All of us, our genetics are coded for our skin to be covered head to toe in stripes. They're called Blaschko lines, and they're invisible on most of us, but they are there. They do exist. But some people actually have a genetic mutation that makes it to where their stripes are visible to our naked eye. It's believed that Blaschko lines can become visible under UV light, meaning that some animals, like birds and bees, can see our stripes. And even though you might not be able to see it on yourself, your stripes are completely unique to you, and the patterns these things can create are insane. Here's some toys from your childhood that got banned for being too dangerous. Aquadots was something I saw on TV all the time, okay? They were these little beads, and if you sprayed them with water, they would like stick together. The issue was that these little beads were coated in a chemical compound called GHB, aka the date rape drug. Kids would accidentally ingest these beads and then just pass the fuck out. Rollerblade Barbie, just one of the many Barbies from the Career and Hobbies collection. The little rollerblades they gave Barbie had a spark mechanism, which essentially was just a cigarette lighter that they gave to children. If you rolled Barbie over anything flammable, you had a problem. In 1993, Slip and Slide had to recall over 9 million of their slides due to the fact that they were made for children, but adults were using them. The slides just weren't long enough, and over a dozen people ended up getting spinal cord injuries that ended up in permanent paralysis. Here's a psychology trick that I know works because I use it. Okay, you really gotta be careful with this one because the truth can hurt, but if you want to see if somebody secretly dislikes you, like they're nice to your face, but you have a sneaky suspicion they're talking shit about you behind your back, say something to them that can be perceived as superficially polite or subtly an insult. Like, hey, you look nice today. Somebody that's your friend is just gonna take the compliment, but somebody that doesn't like you is gonna see the negative and get offended. Did you know that the #1 place people get abducted is grocery store parking lots? This is why as soon as you get in your car, you just need to start it and drive off. Don't just sit here scrolling on your phone. You make yourself super vulnerable to anybody that's willing to take the chance to get to you. Everybody should have pepper spray or one of these keychain weapons, but most people don't. But if you're a woman, I'd put money down that you know about the whole like holding your keys in your hand like you're Wolverine or something, but you should try to remember to keep the keys in your non-dominant hand. Because your dominant hand is going to be the one that you're able to punch the hardest with, but now at least your non-dominant hand has some extra attack points. If you're ever just out walking alone and a guy stops you to ask where you're going, do not tell him you're going home. From my own personal experience, they end up just following you. Instead, say you're going to your boyfriend's place, because guys will respect the hypothetical presence of a man more so than you asking him to leave you alone. If you're gonna send somebody a picture of yourself and you want them to think that you're like so attractive, make sure your hair is wet in the picture. Sounds crazy, like it would have the opposite effect, but several studies have shown that we rate people with wet hair as more attractive. We don't even know why. Isn't this sexy? My sense of self-confidence is skyrocketing.
Stop slouching. Stop staring at the ground when you walk. Stop using your phone to avoid eye contact. Stop crossing your arms in conversation. Stop putting your hands in your pockets when you don't know what else to do.
They say less than 25% of people can swallow their spit 3 times in a row, and that less than 1% of people can swallow it 5 times in a row. I thought that this was way more common, but apparently only 5% of the world actually has freckles. 4% of people have what's called a preocular pit, which is this small hole in front of the ear that's a part of their sinus tract that just got put in the wrong place. 25% of people can force themselves to sneeze by just looking at a bright light. And about 35% of people don't have an inner monologue or a voice in their head. They're just able to think without all the narration going on, which I don't understand, but they do exist. You have a crush on somebody? Yeah? Okay. Do you want them to like you back? Yes, of course. Never say these things. Don't ask them why they don't or why they rarely reply to you, okay? People got things to do. If they don't text back, it doesn't mean they don't like you, but they definitely won't like you if you look all needy and shit. Don't bring up your ex, or even worse, their ex. They're not in the picture anymore. Why are you talking about them? Don't tell them who they should and shouldn't be with, okay? You have a crush on this person, but they might go on a date with somebody else. Don't tell them that that person sucks. You suck. Don't tell them that you stalk their social media, okay? We all know everybody does it, but bringing it up is weird. Don't ask them if they like you more than everybody else, because then they're gonna have to sit there and think about who they know, and you might not be the coolest one. Let me know if I should make a video on things that you should say. Here's some survival tips that I've heard on this app that would actually just get you killed. If a bear is ever chasing you, just run downhill, because bears can't run downhill. You can barely run downhill. I think whoever started this just wanted to see their friend get mauled by a bear, because like bears can run downhill at a shocking speed. If you're ever out lost somewhere, be sure to ration your water. That way it'll last you longer. Lost hikers have been found with plenty of water on them because they decided to ration it, got dehydrated, and didn't realize it. So just drink your water when you're thirsty, even if it only lasts like a couple of hours. It's gonna keep your mind and body working. If you're ever out lost in the extreme cold, just drink some alcohol to warm you up. Alcohol actually lowers your body temperature. You feel warmer because your blood vessels are dilating, but this is just making you lose more heat. You're more likely to die from hypothermia. Okay, even if like 99% of the world's population thought you were ugly as shit, that still leaves over 75 million people that think you're pretty attractive. The word dreamt is the only word in the English language that ends with MT. The calcium in your bones and the iron in your blood came from the explosions of ancient giant stars. Like, I don't know if the picture they just took is quote unquote old enough, but we essentially come from this. This is like a baby photo of us. Next time you're talking to your crush and the conversation gets kind of boring or even a little bit awkward, just ask them what they would do if money wasn't a part of the equation. The conversation is going to get much deeper than just asking them what their sign is or something. You could also just pretend that there's something stuck in your eye. Okay, it hurts really bad. You need their help. Depending on the height difference, they're going to be looking up at you trying to figure out what's wrong. You're going to be looking down at them or vice versa. All you got to do is smile and they're going to be like, what? And you gotta be like, I really just like you looking up or down at me. If you say it smoother, they'll get butterflies. You could also just ask your crush what their favorite movie is, and no matter what their answer is, just be like, oh, I've never seen it. And if they're like, ooh, we should watch it sometime, they like you. But if they're like, oh yeah, you should watch it sometime, yeah. If you're ever overthinking, like your brain is just running at 1,000,000 miles an hour, you're juggling all these things that you know you're supposed to do, and you're replaying every embarrassing thing you've ever said, and you want that to stop, just keep your eyeballs still. In order for your brain to think and fetch memories, okay, there needs to be movement in your eyes, and if you consciously stop that movement, the racing of the mind will stop. And if you notice that you're still having this like overwhelming feeling of negative emotion, one long time meditation trick is to just lean your head back and have your eyes stare directly up, making sure that they're still, but this will actually change your brain waves and activate a feeling of relief and calmness. And if neither of these things work for you and you still have a lot of like nervous energy, try sticking your head in a bowl of water. This is going to trigger what's called the diving reflex, which will lower your heart rate and immediately cause the chain reaction to get rid of any anxiousness in your body. Body hacks that I know work because I use them. Here's some secrets that hotels do not want you to know about. Everything at a hotel is negotiable as long as you're not rude. They're willing to do this because they think you'll leave a good review. Don't use the glass cups in your room. There are so many maid stories of them saying that they just use the same rag from the bathroom to make it look clean. Most maid staffs don't have a whole lot of time to clean each room. They usually just end up fixing the sheets and pillows, but they don't change anything unless it's the end of the week or if there's a visible stain. If you want a deep clean in your room, tip your maid. The best time to book a hotel is ASAP because prices always tend to go up. But if you're trying to book a hotel room at night, it's definitely going to be more expensive than trying to book it during the day because that's when most people are trying to get a room. And if you're booking online, make sure you clear your history after comparing prices for a little bit because websites will raise the prices if they see you're looking at their page for too long. Ugh, I keep sweating through all of my shirts like I put deodorant on every morning. What is going on? Not all deodorants are antiperspirants. Some are just made for smell, and you really should be putting it on at night. At night? Dude, I've had the hiccups for like 3 days now. No shit. Plug your ears. Why? And drink this. What? Drink this. Are they gone? Okay, I want to talk to them about it. Like, I really do, but I don't think I can without crying. Well, I mean, you can practice forcing yourself not to cry. You just have to focus on your breathing and blinking, and if worse comes to worse, you can just pinch the bridge of your nose and it'll block your tear ducts. Why hasn't anybody told me this before? Some couples share all their passwords with each other because they trust each other completely, and other couples don't for the same exact reason. We'd probably save a lot more on car insurance if they'd stop making all those commercials. Only the poorest rich people fly first class. I'm just saying, no flat earthers seem to live towards the edge of the earth. The cheapest drug around is sleep deprivation. So they call this the 1-minute health check. All you gotta do is take a spoon and rub it all over your tongue. And then you put the spoon in a bag and then place it under some light for about a minute. And you're technically healthy if you pick back up the spoon and it's clean, no blotches or odor. But if it does smell kind of sharp, there could be an issue with your stomach. If it has orange blotches or smells like ammonia, there's problems with your kidneys. And if it smells sweet, you might be a diabetic. If there's any white blotches, that could mean a respiratory infection. If there's any yellow blotches, that could mean an issue in your thyroids. And if the blotches are purple, you should get your cholesterol checked. All hail Dr. Spoon. Next time you go to make a sandwich, try putting 2 pieces of bread into the same toaster slot. That way, the outside is all toasted while the inside is still soft and chewy. And instead of just slapping the lunch meat onto the bread, try cutting it into these half circles instead. That way there's less overlap and you actually get some meat on the corners. And when you go to grate cheese, make sure the grater is horizontal. There's way less mess this way. Look at all that. Yo! I don't know if it's the bread or my hands, but this looks so small. Don't forget to give your dog the excess cheese. They'll thank you for it. Me and my friends are about to go to dinner and then to watch Minions. Pretty folk and basic, I know, the black suit and all, but I'm a lesbian, so it's kind of hot. I also got this shirt that I like. Okay, bud, so this is the challenge that I saw on TikTok, but I don't even think it'll be that much of a challenge for you because look how long your legs are. You can do this. I have some treats. Come on. Come on. Where are you going? Come on! What if I lower it just like a little bit? Surely now you realize you can step over. Come on. Come on. Look at those ankles. It's below. Come on. Oh my goodness. Astro, you're embarrassing me in front of the entire internet. Okay, what if we just lower it a little bit more? Come get the treat. Come get the treat. Come on! Fuck! You're not getting underneath this. Come on! You can do it, come on! Yes! Whenever you're trying to fit something inside of a Ziploc bag, but it's too big for it, you can always just take a second inside-out Ziploc bag and it'll snap together. If you don't have an iron, you can always throw your clothes back in the dryer with a couple of ice cubes to get the wrinkles out. If you have one of these candles with multiple wicks, stop trying to light each of the wicks with the lighter, okay? I know for a fact you're burning your thumb and you look ridiculous. Instead, just try lighting one of them and let gravity do the rest of the work for you. Here's some insane history facts that I don't think school even considered teaching you. In the year 2000, an art show in Denmark showed off 10 fully functional blenders with a live goldfish inside each one. Visitors were given the option to press the on button with the idea that nobody would actually do it. Until somebody did. They pushed that button and blended 2 goldfish. Just out in the open! In 2011, an Australian bartender found a glitch in his bank's ATM system, and it allowed him to withdraw more money than he actually had the balance for. And for 4 months, this guy went on a bender of parties, private jets, and paying off his friend's student loans. He spent $1.6 million before being caught. Burger King once ran a promotion called the Whopper Sacrifice, where they would give anybody a free Whopper as long as they deleted 10 friends off Facebook. It was a huge success until Facebook shut it down because so many people were complaining about the fact that they got deleted for a sandwich. It's getting really hot out there. Like, ridiculously hot. So here's some hacks to stay cool this summer. During the day, try to make sure that all your windows and curtains are closed. You might not think that this makes much of a difference, but my AC bill says otherwise. If you're fancy enough to have a fan, you can force it to blow really cold air by just getting a bowl of ice and placing that in front of it. And if you're really just overheating, the best way to get your body temperature down quick is to run water over your wrists, because this is where your veins are closest to the surface. And if that doesn't work, you can always just stick some ice up here. Abortion is no longer seen as a constitutional right because the Supreme Court took your liberty to decide what happens to your body, and they gave that power to the state, because who knows your body better than politicians? Say it with me, okay? Banning abortions isn't going to stop abortions. They're still gonna happen, they're just gonna be way more fatal now. People with money are gonna be able to leave the state to go get an abortion. People without it are gonna be left to deal with that abortion outside of the healthcare system. And people who can't do that are just going to be forced to carry an unwanted pregnancy until they have an unwanted child. So now both patients and doctors going in for post-miscarriage treatment, IUDs, or even IVFs can be subject to criminal investigations, and that is not okay. So help fight this at bandsoff.org. They gave me a lollipop. It's a good day to be a lesbian. At least I thought so. Roe v. Wade was overturned this morning by the Supreme Court, who is filled with justices who said during their selection process that no, abortion is a constitutional right. I wouldn't even dream of changing that. They lied to us. Justice Clarence Thomas also announced today that the Supreme Court is going to have to reconsider the decisions on same-sex marriage, same-sex relations, and contraceptives. Does he realize that those decisions could also end up affecting his interracial marriage? I don't think he does. 26 states already have laws put in place that are going to force people to give birth, even in cases of rape, incest, stillbirth, and when the carrier's life is put at risk. If anybody out there is looking to take a vacation, here are some wonderful states you should go to. Avoid the rest. If you want to apply for a job that requires a college degree that you don't have, just say that you do and try to learn the skill on your own. Companies rarely check to verify this, and if they do, the worst thing that could happen is that they don't hire you. Nothing to lose, everything to win. Whenever you start a new job, no matter what the reality actually is, you now have 4 grandparents that are very much alive. For now. If you have a coworker that calls out sick, you can do the same exact thing like 1 to 3 days later. Even if you're fine, your boss is just going to think that there's something going around the office. Astro's butt. Astro's face. Okay, when my boyfriend gets back in the car, I'm just going to tell him a bunch of random animal facts and see how they respond. So when cats like really love you, they'll look at you and like slow blink as a way to give you kisses.
I do that to my cats all the time. I look at them and I slow blink, but they look away.
Oh. Did you know that there's this place in Japan called Capybara Island where you get to go and just hang out with capybaras all day and like watch them like in the hot springs?
Are those the ones that look like super tiny anteaters?
Yeah, they're like the little like muffin rats. Some wild tarantulas keep frogs as pets. Seahorses are in monogamous relationships. They actually go on like dates when they're younger with like other seahorses, and then they pick one and then like stay with that one, and they like hold tails while they swim.
I want to hold tails.
So a team of researchers took a group of people, separated them out by eye color, and then recorded their personality traits, and they found that there were actually some similarities in the groups. And we think that this has something to do with culture more than DNA, but still, here's what your eye color says about you. People with blue eyes tend to be more skeptical and hesitant to try new things, and it's also been linked to being an egocentric, which is this inflated sense of ego. People with green eyes are seen as the creative types and tend to be better at keeping their cool under high-stress situations. People with gray eyes are known to be wise but also gentle and are heavily regarded to be the best in leadership roles. People with hazel eyes are seen as more independent, and interestingly enough, research shows that they're more prone to anxiety and digestive issues. People with brown eyes are seen as the most trustworthy, sympathetic, and willing to help others, but they also have the hardest time getting up in the morning. I was watching some show about serial killers, and it said that the average person will walk by 11 murderers in their lifetime, and that got me thinking, which country has the most serial killers? Because obviously the average person there's exposure is going to be a little bit different. In 10th place, we have Russia with 73 convicted serial killers. 9th place is India with 80. 8th place is Australia with 81. 7th is Germany with 85. 6th is Japan with 96. 5th place is Italy with 97. 4th place is Canada with the first triple-digit country with 106 serial killers. 3rd place is South Africa with 117. 2nd place is England with 166. And I'm not even surprised by this, but 1st place is the United States of America with 3,204 convicted serial killers. What are we doing wrong? Advice that could save your life one day, except the scenarios become increasingly more likely to actually happen. If you ever get attacked by a crocodile, chances are it's gonna do what's called a death roll. And in order to avoid death via having your arm ripped off, you need to be able to roll with it. If you ever get buried in rubble, you shouldn't try to yell for help. This is just gonna waste energy. Instead, you should try to find something to hit against something else. If you tap in intervals of 3, somebody should be able to recognize that pattern and come and find you. If you get a warning before a natural disaster like a tornado or a wildfire, make sure you fill your bathtub up, that way you have clean water. Do you guys remember when you went to the doctor and they hit your knee in that one spot and it moved? This is a reflex. A reflex is an involuntary bodily action that's automatic, okay? You can't help but do this, and they're testing to make sure that the reflex works. I wanted to test a couple more. So the hanger reflex was discovered in the 90s, and they're not too sure why it does this thing to people, but they think it has something to do with the pressure being applied to your frontal lobe. Making people do this shit. What? There's a couple different theories as to why this arm floating reflex does what it does, but it really all comes down to the fact that while you're pushing your arms on this doorway, your brain is sending so many like push out signals that when you finally walk away from it, it doesn't stop. Just another friendly reminder that you are not your body, okay? You're your brain. But the brain also named itself, so how trustworthy can that guy be? Here's some movies being made right now that you should be very excited for. A sequel to Beetlejuice is something that's been rumored for decades now. And it's finally happening! Thanks to Brad Pitt and his movie studio Plan B. Obviously, Michael Keaton and Winona Ryder are gonna come back, but they're also saying that Johnny Depp might be in it. Okay, if you've seen Twins with Arnold and DeVito, then you better prepare the fuck for Triplets, the sequel! But it's not gonna have Eddie Murphy. They casted Tracy Morgan to play the long-lost brother that I'm assuming they're gonna find and be like, what? They're making a live-action Little Mermaid! The cast looks amazing so far. I cannot wait. Let's just hope no popes are popping boners in this one, yeah? This is a friendly reminder that preheating your oven is a scam made up by the electric and gas companies. Okay, as soon as you turn this on, pop your food in. What are you waiting for? It's gonna cook while it heats up. Here's some psychology tricks that work if you're trying to flirt. Do what's called the triangle gaze. This is when you look at somebody in their eye, and then their mouth, and then their other eye, and smile. They get all flustered. Send an audio message instead of a text or a video, because there's just something about having to focus on somebody's voice that does something to people. When you're talking with them, like in person, try to go for a walk. Your guys' bodies and breathings are going to naturally sync up. And when you are talking to this person, try to remember to slightly slow down your speaking. Just trust me on that one. I bet that you can't solve this murder mystery case. And if somehow you can, consider becoming a detective or a PI or something, because this one was tricky. On January 4th around 3 p.m., a maid at a hotel found Jacob Cohen dead in his room. Jacob was a man in his 20s, he had a successful business, he taught Sunday school, and was engaged to be married. When police showed up, they concluded that it was a murder, but because there was no sign of forced entry, they figured that it had to be somebody that was close to him. But Jacob didn't have very many people. The only ones in his life that he trusted was his sister Julia, who also taught at Sunday school, his brother John, who also owned a semi-successful business, and his fiancée Julia, who he didn't even live with yet. And the only thing the police had was a note that Jacob left that said, January 4th, 2009, 4:10 a.m. My loved ones, Jenna, sis, brother John, I would like you to know how sorry I am. Blame God for who I am to die today. Blame and seek him if you want to know why I left this world. Do not mourn my death. Move on. Goodbye, Jacob. Who did it? Ants can live a really long time. Like, way longer than I thought. Your normal everyday ant can live like 4 to 15 years. And there have been queens on record living up to 28 years. Next time I have to step on an ant, I'm really gonna be like mourning their whole ass life. This is the hog-nosed snake, and when it feels threatened, it'll puff itself up and hiss at you. But if that doesn't work, it'll flip itself over and play dead. And if you take the snake and flip it from its back to its belly, it'll just flip itself back over. Like, no, I'm supposed to be dead. Penguins are able to drink salt water like it's fresh water because they have this gland behind their eyes that actually filters their blood and allows them to sneeze the salt out. Now, I'm not saying that we need to hire a bunch of penguins to save the world or whatever, but it's an option. Do you want to get out of going to school or work or some social thing? Here's how to fake being sick. Ideally, you want something that's going to incapacitate you from any major responsibilities without being so serious that somebody wants to take you to the doctor, so make sure that you don't overdo it. You need to make sure that you start complaining about symptoms the day before the thing that you want to get out of. So say that you don't feel well, you have a headache, a stomach ache, try not to eat as much, and go to bed earlier than you normally would. To fake a fever, you need to be sweating, so take a hot shower, put hot water in your face, drink hot liquids like tea, and wrap yourself up in blankets, but remember to shiver because you're supposed to be freezing. To fake a cold, make sure you only breathe through your mouth and put a little bit of toothpaste under your eyes to make them burn and water up. And if you have to fake being sick over the phone, make sure that you hang your head over the bed and speak slow and sluggish to make yourself sound a little bit more stuffed up. And if you get away with it, don't just get better. People become suspicious if you're back to 100% the day after a sick day. What if you're already dead, and this is all just your life flashing before your eyes? Earth is just a wet rock that was left out for too long and stuff started to grow on it. If you keep doing new things, time will actually slow down. Well, not actually, but your perception of it will. And on the flip side, if you do the same thing every single day and never have any new experiences, time is going to speed way up. This is a formal trigger warning. Here are some of the worst prosthetics that actors had to endure. Robin Williams said that for his role in Popeye, he had to go through 90 minutes of makeup a day, but that his forearms were the worst part. He said that they would tie my arms up like a junkie for the fight scenes, and then when I had to ask for a bit of blood, they would release my arms until the circulation came back and then just tie me up again. Ian Coletti has to have his face covered up all day to play the character of Eugene Root, aka Arseface, a character in the show Preachers who was horribly disfigured after a suicide attempt. He said that there's not a whole lot of time to eat, that he has to be in the chair by 2 a.m. and doesn't get to go home until 10 p.m. Said that throughout the day he would be able to drink protein shakes, but that this was the saddest form of method acting that he's ever had to do. Jennifer Lawrence has said that if she was given the offer, she would consider coming back to play Mystique in a 4th X-Men movie, but that she doesn't necessarily want to, saying that inhaling all the fumes that made her achieve this look made her sick.